That in class. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you on this nice, brisk Sunday, almost spring morning in the city of Los Angeles? Good. It's considered the most divine day of all in LA, right? Not because it's Sunday, but because it's Oscar Sunday. As I said to others today, and this is going to be a bad joke, but it's, in this town, it's also known as the gay Super Bowl. So that got a response, right? So we're happy to have with us this morning on the Bema, Yaron Spiewak, our co-music director. Leah Ziegler, who's here. Ira Gonzalez. And as special guests, we have Leah's parents with us today here from Texas.
Did you know that they also play?
I do know. Not only do I know that they also play, but I know that her father is a cellist, and he also speaks Hebrew because he spent time in Israel playing his cello, and her mom and his wife is a violinist.
Yes, that you got.
So do I get a blender or a microwave or something for all of that? Hey, you did that already. I want a home appliance or something. Okay, so well, we have opened the morning already with a bit of joy, which is one of the things that we love here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. It's a great pleasure to see you all here. It's quite beautiful to be here in the mornings early, right, Bob and Jesus? We get here early, and Erwin, and this room is doesn't look like this at all, and we transform it into this space, and then to watch the transformation take place physically, and then the energy starts to transform, where we do our prayer work as our musicians show up and do their rehearsal, and then we pray, and then you all start filtering in. So I want you to know that we are prepared to have you here with us today, as I'm sure you're prepared to have a wonderful Sunday as we come together. True? Good. Well, we come together every Sunday morning in this space, our home, for a celebration, if you will, and we come together to honor you on your path and your journey of your awakening to the power of the divine that resides equally within all of us. If you are new to metaphysics, as some of you may be, you will hear some terminology today that's certainly non-Christian-like in its traditional sense. You will hear terminology such as spiritual mind treatment, which is the methodology that we use for prayer, and you will hear us refer to God not as some power outside of us, but as an indwelling presence that exists equally across the universe. We welcome you as we welcome all races, all religions, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, all ethnicities, all abilities, all humans, all people. You are welcome here in this space known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. As our beloved founder, Dr. David Walker, used to say on Sunday mornings, we joyfully and lovingly welcome one and welcome all. We stand with you. So we open our service every Sunday morning with a ritual. And the purpose of that ritual is for us to anchor ourselves in this spiritual truth that exists for us. Is to give us the opportunity to open our mind, our heart, and our soul to receive what we came here for today. I truly believe that we all come together in a space such as this by divine appointment, meaning that power has drawn us together to share an experience, to honor our oneness, and to receive whatever wisdom that we desire to experience that morning. Who's ever been to a Sunday morning service, whether it's here or somewhere, and you walk out and go, man, that person was talking directly to me? All of you, right? Who's ever had that happen before? Yeah. Well, the reason I ask you that is because it has nothing to do with the person that's standing on the podium or the musicians that are presenting music to you. It's because of that's within you that is seeking to move to that higher consciousness level. I'm going to speak about that today. And so my objective and my goal as our musicians and our practitioners and our ministers here today is to facilitate that for you so that you know who you are as a divine being in a greater way and can use these tools to go out and navigate your world in a way that makes your world a better place. So I'd like to invite to the Bema. That's the space we're on. We are in a temple/synagogue. It's called a Bema, not a stage here. Welcome to the Bema, our practitioner of the day, who is also one of our staff ministers here, Reverend Lenore Edney, to take us through the calling in the light ritual. And our candle illuminator is Matt Fonda, who is one of our board Board of Trustees members, and the musicians will take you through it as well. Enjoy, and I say, calling in the light.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love.
We perform this ritual this morning, and it's called Calling in the Light. And we do this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, and all sentient beings come from the one, all-abiding presence, which we call Spirit. And the purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And as Matt lights or illuminates the first candle, its quality is peace. In this way, we honor our inherent divine state of inner calm, regardless of any seeming chaos unfolding around or within us. The second candle is illumined for the quality of of power. The power we acknowledge as the energy by which everything exists. And the third candle is lit for the quality of beauty. Beauty is a personal expression by which high spiritual qualities are made manifest. All we have to do is look around us. The fourth candle is lit for the quality of joy. And joy is the state of being that is excited about the expectancy and experience of good. Matt illuminates the fifth candle for light. Light is the symbol of divine intelligence. And the sixth candle is lit for all life. Life is that which is defined as the animating principle of being, that inner something that makes everything live. The seventh candle is illuminated for the quality of love. Love is defined as the self-givingness of spirit, the desire of life to express itself by giving of itself. And the eighth candle is lit for the quality of wisdom. The key to wisdom is the concept of unity, which is the mystical secret of the ages. And the final candle is illuminated as the healing candle. And please take a moment and think of someone you would like to silently put into the light of the healing flame to experience eternal and everlasting love of the divine.
Please join us. I am love.
I am love.
I am peace.
I am peace.
I am soul.
I am soul.
All together
Together.
we are whole. Calling in the light, calling in the light,
Calling in the light of love. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light of love. Calling in the light of love. And
And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
And I welcome you to close your eyes or not as I make a truth statement, a spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer. And it's for everyone in this room, everyone online, everyone there is. And all of this is the divine in manifestation. All of this is God. So right here and right now, as I breathe in, I breathe that energy in. And I say these words in the I, so you may take them in for yourself. In that breathing in, I am the revealing of the divine. I am that which is spirit expressed, animated. And I know that as I go about this day, this brand new opportunity to begin again, I begin from that space which involves all of these qualities of God. Love and light, and I'm throwing in humor as well, and joy. Of course, all of this is the divine. I see it around me. I behold it in each and every person I encounter this very day. And as I show up in this seat, in this room, in this community, in this city, I am just one aspect of that which is all being revealed by means of me. So I can easily be me, and that's enough. Breathing in again, I am in that celebration of gratitude. Gratitude for this center, gratitude for this building, gratitude for everyone who has shown up, the musicians, those who set up, the ministers, the practitioners, and of course, Dr. Keith. And easily I get on with this day, knowing that as I show up as one of these divine elements. Angel agrees. It's all good. It's all good God stuff going on. So in the celebration of even more of it unfolding, we just say yes and get on to it. We let go and allow it to be so by saying together, and so it is.
Thank you. I love it how we went from you guys being hesitant to clap to some hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hooping and hollering like a sports event. I love it. So, just want to thank you, Reverend Lenore, and thank you, Matt, and our musicians. Thank you so much. Beautiful. The light is called in. So we'll take a moment and say hello to those that are watching online. Say hello to them all. How's it going? Good to see them all there. We can't really see them, but they think that we can see them, right? So, anyway, you guys are very animated today. I like that. So, we're now time for our first song. So, you guys ready?
Yeah, we're
Good. So, I'd like to present to you once again Leah Ziegler, Ira Gonzalez, and Yaron Spiewak.
thank you.
Before we share this song with you, I'd like to introduce it. It is a song written by James Taylor. It's called Fire and Rain, and I'm sure most of you are very familiar with it. As I was sharing with Leah's parents last night, there's a story behind it that I'm not sure many people know. I find it very powerful, so I want to share it with you. The story goes that James Taylor was on tour, and his birthday was coming up. And his tour manager wanted to surprise him, so they put his girlfriend, at the time, they put his girlfriend on a plane to surprise him to meet him on the tour. And the plane crashed, and she passed away. And of the many hundreds of songs that I have in my head, this one has always carried a lot of weight. And I think the lesson that it taught me personally was that all the moments that we have that are unexpected in our lives, it's what we do with them. And out of this tragic moment, James Taylor wrote this song. He poured his heart into this song. And for decades now, it's been kind of fueling people with inspiration. And I'm certainly one of those people. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as we do. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. I woke up this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. Oh, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times where I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Won't you look down upon me, Jesus? You gotta help me make a stand. Just got to see me through another day. My body's aching, my time is at hand. I won't make it any other way. No, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times where I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. I've been walking my mind to an easy time, my back turned towards the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it'll turn your head around. Well, there's hours of time on the telephone line, talk about things to come. Sweet dreams and flying machines and pieces on the ground. Oh, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times where I could not find a friend. But I'd always thought that I'd see you again. Thought I'd see you one more time again. There's just a few things coming away this time around me now. Thought I'd see you again. Fire and rain.
Thank you. What a great version of that classic, and thank you for sharing the story, Ira. And just so you know, you were getting all kinds of thumbs ups and hearts and starburst on Facebook Live as that was happening. So, yeah, I don't think so. I think it was the song and you. So I want to begin with a story this morning to start my message with you, and it's rather lengthy, so please indulge me in that. I'm forewarning you as I dive into it that that's the case, but I believe that it will set the tone, just like the song did, for us to get those tools that we came here today to navigate life with in a more effective way for ourselves. There was an 8-year-old girl named Tess who was distraught after hearing her mother and father discussing her little brother, Andrew's sickness. She was afraid because they had said that he was very, very sick. And because they were low on money, they couldn't pay both his medical bills and their rent. Now, the surgery that he required was extremely costly. And Tess overheard her father telling her mother, "Only a miracle can save him now." Sad and frightened, Tess went to her bedroom, pulled out a glass jelly jar from its hiding place in the closet, and she poured all the change out onto the floor and counted it carefully separate times. She knew she needed to know to the penny how much she had. After counting, she carefully placed the coins back in the jar and closed the cap. She slipped out the back door and made her way 6 blocks to the local drugstore, the one with the big red Indian chief sign on the door. As she waited patiently inside the drugstore for the pharmacist to give her some attention, he didn't. He was too busy in conversation with another man and just simply couldn't be bothered with this little girl standing there. Now, after a bit, she made a grumbling noise and scuffed her feet a bit on the floor in an attempt to get his attention, and still nothing from him. She cleared her throat with the most disgusting sound she could muster. Still no good. Finally, she took a quarter from her jar and banged it on the glass counter, and whew, that did it. He looked at her and said, "What do you want, little girl? Can't you see I'm in a conversation? The man that I'm talking to here, this is my brother. He lives in Chicago, and I haven't seen him in ages," he said, waiting for a reply to his question from the little girl. Without missing a beat, she blurted out, "I want to talk to you about my brother." As she responded in the same annoyed tone he had spoken to her, "He's really, really sick, and I want to buy a miracle." "I beg your pardon?" the pharmacist said. "His name is Andrew. He has something bad growing inside his head, and my father says only a miracle can save him now." "So," she said, "how much does a miracle cost?" "We don't sell miracles here, little girl. I'm sorry, but I can't help you," he said to her, softening just a little bit. "Listen," she said as she looked at him, "I have the money to pay for it." "Well, if it isn't enough, I can get the rest," she went on to say. "Just tell me how much a miracle costs." The pharmacist's brother stooped down, looked at the little girl, and said, "Well, what kind of miracle does your brother need, little girl?" She responded and said, "I don't know exactly," as tears began to well up in her eyes. "I just know that he's really sick, and my mommy says he needs an operation, and my parents don't have the money to pay for it. So I want to use my money." "Well, how much money do you have?" the brother asked. $1.11. She was barely audible when she answered that. "And it's all the money I have. But if I need to, I'm sure I can scrape up some more somewhere else." "Well," the man responded, "what a coincidence," as he smiled. $1.11. That's exactly the price of a miracle today for little brothers. Then he said to me, "Take me where you live. I want to meet your brother and your parents. Let's see if I might have the miracle that you're looking for." Turns out the pharmacist's brother was Dr. Carlton Armstrong, a surgeon from Chicago who specialized in neurosurgery. And he was just the surgeon they needed for her brother's operation. Before long, the operation was completed without charge, and it wasn't long until Andrew was home again and doing well. Later, Mom and Dad were talking about these chains of events that had led them to this. Her mom said to the family, "That surgery was a real miracle. I wonder how much it costs." Tess smiled. didn't say a word, but she knew exactly. A miracle cost $1.11. A sweet story, to say the least, right? A sweet story. Today kicks off the month of March for the Centers for Spiritual Living. This story that I shared with you today will exemplify what I'm hoping to spar in you today to know about yourself in a new way, not only to be open to what is called traditionally a miracle, even look at that in metaphysics differently than they do in traditional religions, but to know that at all times you and Tess and the brother and everyone is rooted in the divine. The theme for March is you are rooted in the divine. You're rooted in the divine. Well, what does that mean? Well, simply put, it means that your identity is a spiritual being. And just like the roots of a tree, it can't be seen. Which means then that every single thing in your life and all of life goes from the invisible to the visible. It means that belief is the vehicle for us to experience this divinity and this oneness, and that faith is the road that then creates the life of experience that we have. It was belief and faith, I think, that Tess had, that miracle would come true. And by being persistent in the environment that she was in, it indeed did, because she drew forth into her experience the tools that was needed to facilitate that experience. What does that mean to be rooted in the divine? I believe that when we really know who we are, and I mean really, really, really know who we are as human beings having a spiritual experience, or as Dr. David Alt said here a couple of weeks ago, a spiritual being having a spiritual experience, living in a spiritual world, and we just show up occasionally as humans, then life becomes incredibly animated for us with this essential truth that is unchangeable and unalterable, and then possibility in life replaces what oftentimes is known as pessimism. You're rooted in the divine. Take a moment and think about what that may mean for you. Think about where you, the essence of you, is in that invisible aspect of life. Well, how do we get to experience this divinity? Well, we do it by being conscious of our consciousness. We do it by being conscious of the fact that we are conscious and that we have the ability to tap into our ability to be conscious of our consciousness. Well, what is consciousness? Dr. David Walker used to define it as the sum total of every single thing that exists in mind. Well, now that's a really big statement. Would you not agree with that? Every single thing that exists in mind. And yes, from a truth perspective, that is a huge concept to take in, because the reality is, as we talk about in this teaching all the time, is that mind in and of itself is infinite. In other words, no beginning, no end. If everything that exists in mind, in that space that is called infinite, exists, and we are that, and we have the capacity to tap into that and use that, then that's a big calling for us on a day-to-day basis as we navigate life itself. Would you not agree? Do you think that it would require us to bring it down just a little bit from that perspective, just to simply get up, get dressed, get to Starbucks, and come here? Otherwise, we might just walk on water and not need the caffeine. What is required for us to manifest this divinity that we're rooted in a more practical way every single day, is to use belief, and that is a spiritual truth, and faith that the work that we're doing will bring forth into our field of experience more and more and more of that which we are. As I said before, I believe Tess was doing that whether she was conscious of it or not. Each and every Sunday when I'm here or guest speakers are here, we talk about the vision statement for this center, which is each individual having the opportunity to find their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. You hear it, you see it in writing, but the reality is that how does that happen? What is the first step on an ongoing basis of the evolutionary nature of us as conscious beings to find our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening? Well, I believe the first step is to become conscious of being conscious. And so let's break down the personal self-empowerment piece. Well, empowerment is defined as that process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's right. The key to becoming personally self-empowered on your journey of finding your spiritual awakening is the last part of this definition. It is claiming in your life your right. Well, your right to what? Your right as a divine being to experience and express these qualities that we speak of every single Sunday and in class. To have peace and power and beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom in your life already. Why? Because they're already there. And then our role and our responsibility as we awaken to that spiritual truth is to be conscious of our consciousness that is there. And then to be conscious of our actions and our thoughts and our reactions and our interactions in life itself in a way that reflect us using those qualities with every opportunity. And in so doing, then trusting that the law of life will bring back to us experiences that are a reflection of that. Doing that as consciously as possible on an ongoing basis will be that which gives cause to the spiritual awakening part. Well, spiritual awakening in life itself is a pretty big calling as well. Would you not agree? As well as it seems very vague. Has anyone ever thought that that's a big idea, but what the heck does it mean? It's pretty vague, and yet we all know it when we have it. Well, awakening in a spiritual sense is oftentimes the awakening, if you will, of the confused and frightened self. Now, you may not be walking this pathway of life in the city of West Hollywood during the day or at night, depending on when you're walking it, frightened and confused. But what it's speaking of in this moment isn't necessarily that you're frightened and confused. It means that you're not consciously engaged in knowing and practicing that which you are. In other words, it's by leaving that space, that less knowing state of mind, and then transcending to a higher consciousness, one full of love, peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, and wisdom. You then move to a higher vibrational frequency of consciousness, if you will, which is indeed that spiritual awakening. In general terms, if you will, a spiritual awakening is an altered state of perception. It's living from that place that is knowing beyond knowledge. It's allowing the spiritual truth of life that exists within you to rise up and express itself through you. As opposed to saying to yourself, I know I am one with the divine, I know that I am wisdom, I know that I'm his intelligence, and I'm going to put that in me, which is a forcible act. The spiritual awakening is simply releasing the need to have the act of intelligence, if you will, and surrendering to the power that exists within you and allowing it to rise up and express itself through you. For those of you that are in the practical mysticism class, you know what I'm talking about. We were just moving through that into the 7th and 8th castle in the mansion that we're talking about. What we're talking about as one has a spiritual awakening is that your reality has changed. It's changed, and you open yourself up to invite in the living spirit of the divine. That one omnipotent, infinite power, it matters not what you call it. You can call it God, you can call it spirit, call it life, call it love, call it Yahweh, call it Allah, call it Buddha or Jesus. It matters not. Betty. Edward calls it Betty. Okay, Edward says, I call it Betty. Well, today, Edward, I'm going to call you Betty as God. So Betty in the yellow sweater has an awakening by calling the power forth through him/her as Betty. And in so doing, an awakening unfolds. It's the moment when we awaken our soul to a new awareness of our spiritual truth. That's what it does. It's the spark that awakens and ignites within us the long-buried ancient spirits that exist within us. Well, how do we do that? We do that by transcending the conditions of life itself. Not transcending, closing our eyes to them, but choosing to look at them from a new perspective. Seeing that which shows up in life as less than, and then knowing the truth of it as wholeness and perfection and completeness, just as it is. It's choosing to live in a transcendent state of life, and in so doing we draw forth into our field of experience, by means of our consciousness, a spiritual awakening. Well, how do we do that? Well, this requires a shift in consciousness, a perception of reality that has previously been unrealized by us as an individual. And by practicing that, the culmination of such realizations is in the recognition of the oneness with all existence. And this class that we're doing called Practical Mysticism, it all comes down to one thing, and that's living life from a heightened awareness that there's only one thing ever taking place. God, life, love, whatever you call it. But that it is all interconnected. It is all interconnected. And we live in a world today where that's not just conceptual. It's being proven on a scientific level more and more and more that we are indeed not only humanly interconnected, but we're interconnected with all of life. If you see what takes place through NASA and different scientists regarding space itself, it's showing that even in that vastness of what appears to be nothing, there is an awakened energy that is taking place. That is the oneness of life itself. And over the course of human history, there has existed this timeless wisdom, this deep, profound realization of this state of being, this unconditioned source of all existence. And over time, many great teachers have come to embody this wisdom, such as Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao, Krishna. They've all done this. The question is, it matters not what they've done other than as an example for all of us in life. The question is, are you willing to tap into that from a new perspective today? Are you allowing yourself to be awakened to the spiritual nature of who you are and choose for yourself your destiny of being empowered as an individual? Are you willing to walk through life and believe, just like Tess did, that $1.11 can save your life? Not meaning that it's all about the 4 quarters and the dime and the penny, or however you want to construct that $1.11, but about looking at that which seems to be exactly the thing that cannot get you what you desire. But it has nothing to do with the 4 quarters and the dime and the penny, or the 3 quarters and the 2 dimes and the nickel and the 11 pennies in your hand. It's about holding that in your hand and believing that there is something within you that is greater than all of that. And by focusing on that and having belief that that's possible and faith that the law of life must bring it forward into your field of experiences, how it comes true. That, my children, if you will, is how one has a spiritual awakening. It's by opening yourselves up to the journey of being conscious, of being conscious, of being conscious, and then developing intentionally and purposefully and decidedly an extended consciousness in your life, which then results in an experience that's more and more of the innate power of the divine that exists within us. In other words, it's by consciously choosing to approach life from a transcendent state. Well, the only way to do that is by being conscious of your consciousness. Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith says that as we walk the evolutionary journey of our consciousness, there are realms of consciousness. And I'm going to share them with you today to have you hear it, to assess for yourself where you are on this journey. Not from a place of judgment or belittlement or even praise for that matter, just to do a self-inventory from a perspective to check in with your consciousness in a conscious way. He says the first step in this evolution of consciousness is a victim consciousness of life is happening to me. That the power of the divine is outside, making things happen in my life, and it's testing and rewarding and punishing me. At times, if not all times, I feel powerless. Anybody ever been there? Sure. The next step is by me. That life is happening by me. As I evolve from victimhood, I release blame, shame, and guilt, and I learn that this power is within me, and there is a law that I can use to effect changes and claim dominion over my life. And I consciously use it effectively, and in so doing, I'll feel powerful. I use tools such as visualizations, affirmations, and spiritual mind treatment. And there's powerful spiritual practice in this realm that change the experiences in my life, ultimately giving me the opportunity to change my thinking. Which then moves you, if you stay in that realm long enough, to the higher level, vibrational frequency, if you will, called life happening through me. In this state of conscious evolution, you are continuing to evolve. Dr. David Hawkins talks about it as you rise up the vibrational frequency of consciousness, and in so doing, you eliminate anything that's contradictory to that which you are as a vibrational field in and of itself, and attract more of that which you are into your world, because anything contradictory to it can't stay. But that which was equal to it must stay, because we live in a world that is governed by law itself. And in this state, you let go of control, which is a state of delusion. You all know that, right? Control is a state of delusion. And in this awareness field, you've learned to establish dominion over your life and have built strong life structures for yourself. You realize that there's more to life than this human experience. And it's this space you surrender to Spirit and then let Spirit itself, that power of the divine, use you. As you surrender to this indwelling presence, you allow it to operate through you, and then you become its instrument as opposed to the other way around. And it might be noted here that if you don't willingly surrender, then it'll oftentimes give you a push, give you a nudge. That's when you sense things happening in your world that's saying, I can move to a higher vibrational frequency. And then your answer is, what the hell is that? But the key is listen when that happens. That's a place where meditation and visionings are hallmarks of your daily life, which then moves to the higher vibrational frequency as life happens as me. In this state of consciousness, one releases the last vestiges of separation, and you realize a complete identification with that thing that is called Betty. In this state, you know that you are Betty fully realized, or God, or Yahweh, or Jesus, or the one power. It's in this state that you know that when others see you, what they see is the you that either he in traditional Christian terminology has sent you. But it's that you know that you and the Creator is one. And that the realization of all spiritual practice spontaneously happens, but it happens as you. You're not calling it forward. It's walking with you as it's manifesting itself through you, for it is indeed it is you. So where are you here today? Well, the key to moving forward, no matter where you are, is to always be open to a higher idea, allowing this power to make itself known through you. The key is to surrender to that which you knew. Surrender to that which you know and allow yourself to open to a higher idea. The key is to detach yourself from whatever's been going on in your life that causes you pain or harm or discord or discomfort. And then move consciously beyond detachment into a conscious act of releasing attachment. It's a specific difference. Detachment is not hanging on to that which you want to make something happen. Release of attachment is, I know I need to let go of certain things in my life to have this experience of oneness at a higher vibrational frequency, which deeply within me I desire and know and is innate for me. And then to know that on this journey of your life, that as your beliefs manifest, see them. And tend to your thoughts and actions and reactions and interactions and see what shows up in your life and where you're at in consciousness. And then choose a framework of mind that you will move through life operating as if every single thing is good, being made manifest through you as the divine. And then take a step back and recycle the process. That's what's called forth from us as we walk this journey of personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, of understanding that at all times we are living in a cycle of belief and law and creation, of response and reaction and an interaction and reaction, which then gives us the opportunity to ask ourselves what we believe, knowing that the law then brings forth to us a feel, an experience, and then we get to look at that experience and from that determine what's going on in our consciousness and think, act, react, interact, and then release. Today, I encourage each and every one of you to broaden your faith musculature. To know, as Ernest Holmes says, that faith is a mental attitude that is so convinced of its own idea, which so completely accepts it, that any contradiction is unthinkable and impossible. That which I invite you today to know as your own idea of faith is that every single thing that you desire in life is possible within the realm of possibility. You and I are called forth to experience and express a life of peace and power and beauty and joy and light, life, love, and wisdom. As we do that, we can walk this pathway called life, awakened to our spiritual magnificence, and in so doing, there is no other choice but to be empowered on a personal level. And it's important for us to know and to accept for ourselves today that we are rooted in the divine. Thank you, and have a great Sunday. Thank you. I'd like to welcome back to the Bema our musicians of the day, Yaron, Ira, and Leah.
You guys having a lovely day?
Yes.
Gonna get lovelier.
You can clap or you can snap or whatever you want. Dance.
When I wake up in the morning, love, the sunlight hurts my eyes. Something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be,
Let's hear it, guys, come on.
it's gonna be a lovely day.
Lovely day, 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 lovely day.
When the day that lies ahead of you seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of you always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Oh, just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be, well, it's gonna be a lovely day.
Lovely day, 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 lovely day.
Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Oh, just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be,
Let's hear it, guys, come on.
it's gonna be a lovely,
Lovely day, 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 lovely day,
Just you
lovely
guys.
day.
a lovely day, a lovely day.
A lovely day, a lovely day, lovely day, a lovely day, lovely day, a lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, a lovely day, a lovely day, lovely day, a lovely day, a lovely day.
Come on, to you. A lovely day, 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 a lovely day,
lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day.
a lovely day.
Yes. I loved it. Thank you. Leah Ziegler, Ira Gonzalez, Yaron Spiewak. I don't know if you guys heard him in the back. You hear I've been calling for beatboxing. Yaron was doing some beatboxing.
I practiced.
Yeah, good. We're going to hear it in the other song too.
We'll do a reprise.
Thank you. Who was that? Was it your first time to hear a beatbox? Come on. Okay. All right, so now thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
You guys ready to have a lovely day? Have you already had a lovely day? Good. Well, let's make it lovelier and have our ushers come forward, which is your opportunity to share your financial good with us as we grow in consciousness, ultimately growing in income. And for those of you that are watching online and or in person as well, here are your options for giving today. You have cash, check, and or credit card. Credit card, you can see the lovely man with the machine at the welcome table in the back, and or on our website. You can click on home. There's actually a donate tab now on the website. You just click right there at cslla.org, or on our app, which is Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. And so take out that what you're giving today. If you put it close to your heart, if that feels compelled. I'm putting my iPhone there because I gave technologically today. And close your eyes, please. You don't have to. It was a request, not an instruction. What I invite you to do today is see that which is financial good in this moment being circulated, multiplying, benefiting and blessing the Centers for Spiritual Living, your life, and beyond. And repeat after me, please. Conscious giving heals.
Conscious giving heals.
It awakens and enlivens my awareness.
It awakens and enlivens my awareness.
I am one with an abundant universe.
I'm one with an abundant universe.
So I give with love.
So I give with love.
And know.
And know.
And to know that I know. That it absolutely returns to me, multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
This the gift to be simple, this the gift to be free, this the gift to come down to where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shouldn't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. I feel like Peter, Paul, and Mary today.
I'm going to let that be Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I'll be Mary.
Oh, you took it right out of me.
Took it, I know.
Right. It's like more like Beulah, Joseph, and Betty. Okay, but not on the Bema. Okay, so some announcements. First off, thank you, Miguel. It's good to have you back. So. We all speak some kind of language. All right, so if you'd like to be on our mailing list and you're not, please fill out a paper product form in the back. Give us your information, and we will make sure that you, and make it legible, please, that you are added to our weekly e-newsletter list, which goes out every Tuesday. That gives you an update on what's taking place here at the center and over the next week. And so that would be greatly appreciated for you to do that. What's coming up this week is, I want to remind you that next Sunday morning it's time to spring forward. So roll your time devices forward if you have an old school one. If you use electronics, it'll do it on its own. But put it in your calendar so you're aware of that. The outreach group is meeting next Sunday, which is the day that you spring forward, in here after service. Also to remind you, we have a guest speaker next week, a good friend of mine named Dr. Jim Lockhart. He is a minister, teacher, speaker, author, blogger, coach, consultant, and thought leader. He currently lives in Lyon, France with his wife, Dorianne Cotter-Lockhart. He is not only incredibly well-versed in metaphysics and a modern-day approach to that, but he's also a wine enthusiast, which makes him a very special person, right? And for over the last 20 years, he's served as different spiritual leaders in California, Florida, and Maryland. He's written some really fascinating books. One is called Creating the Beloved Community. The other is called Sacred Thinking. And he has a New Thought evolutionary blog that he publishes all the time. Angel, it's my stage, honey. Okay? A New Thought evolutionary blog that is great to read if you're interested in reading updated New Thought stuff. So want to give you some updates on what's going on. In addition to that is Wednesday morning online guided meditation takes place at 8 a.m. For those of you who'd like to join us, please feel free to do that. The information is our weekly newsletter as well as online. It's a guided meditation that I take us through for 30 minutes, readying us to ready ourselves for the day. As well as class continues. The Practical Mysticism class is this Wednesday night at 7:15. We're on class 9, correct? 9, and we have one more after that. Also, just a reminder, if you want to move and shake your groove thing, in Walter Painter's jazz dance class called The Spirit of Dance, that's Friday mornings at 11:30 at the Hollywood Dance Theater. Who in the room uses social media? So please go to our Facebook page and like it. My microphone in that moment. Go to our Facebook page and like it. It's Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. If you have questions, that's also on our website and on our weekly e-newsletter, as well as the same with our YouTube channel. We'd love to have more of you watching that. A huge thank you this morning to our musicians. So yes, Leah, Ira, and Yaron. If they want to see or hear more of you, how do they do that?
I'm difficult to find online.
Go to leahziegler.com and email me asking for Ira.
Okay.
Facebook. I'm on Facebook.
So
He's
prayer.
not.
You pray, and you'll manifest themselves. All right, so, and you're on. It's great to have you back.
Thank you.
Both on piano, electronics, beatbox, and the cajon today.
Yes.
Good job. Good. Our practitioner today is Reverend Lenore. A huge thank you to you for upstairs and both here today. Our great illuminator, Matt Fonda, a big thank you. And to our setup team, Bob and Jesus, a big thank you to you. Our board member today is Gary Bond. Gary, raise your hand, please. If you have any constructive criticism, please share with Gary that. He'll meet you in the back. And also there are both flour and sugar products back there for you to chew on if you want to get to know each other better in the back, along with coffee and tea, water, and that's it. Good Sunday. You guys ready to close? Good. All right, so let's close with a spiritual mind treatment. And so as I speak my word, I do so for each and every individual that's here in this room, watching online and beyond. That as we've shared this experience today, which we've come together through divine appointment, I know for each of us and us collectively, we have allowed that within the spiritual nature of the roots of the divine within us to be awakened. We're awakened to know who we are as a divine being in a new and greater way today. And so we take this information and allow ourselves to be empowered in a way to be conscious of our consciousness, to move forward in life and be conscious of being conscious. And so we choose thoughts and actions and interactions and reactions in life that reflect our divine nature of peace and power and beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom. We choose to see all of humanity before us as a reflection of this divinity, knowing that it's true for us and true for all. And so we let go and surrender to a higher idea. We release anything that isn't serving our highest good, whether we're conscious of that or not. We literally feel it leaving our being and our body right now. And then we open ourselves up to that higher idea moving through us. We go forward today not just having a lovely day, but we covenant and commit to each other and ourselves to have a lovely life. We make a commitment to know that life for all is better because we're better in it as it. And we choose to be an evolved consciousness. And trust that the law of life is always doing its part through us. And for that we're forever grateful as we say together, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. Have a great Sunday.
1, 2,
See you later.
3, and